Hello, welcome to this new session. In this session, I'm going to show you how you can compose workflow and execute it. Let's go to our workflow application. You're now very conversant with the URL. If you don't have it, you can get the URL here to the workflow application that we have. Now, our workflow opens with the default setting. The default setting contains the workflow that we have for the Alliance project, that is a input sensor workflow. For us to create a new workflow, it's good that we clear and have a clean editor. So to clear, we go to this delete icon here, and then let's clear, and then the name of the workflow updates. If you go to the JSON, then operations is empty, there's no connection. So we need to be able to now compose workflow from the services that we added from the previous session. I need to make a simple workflow that has only two operations for this demonstration, just to show you. But later on, this workflow can be extended, or you can build another workflow which has several processes, what we call a complex workflow, like the one we have for the triple sensor. The two operations that I need is centroid and the buffer. So we take a geometry, and then we calculate its centroid, which is a point result, and then from that point we get the buffer around that point, which is a polygon. So basically two operations. Let's go to our list of processing services that we have, and then go to default server, the previous, and then I only need centroid, the two ways that I can be able to add operations from the list of process services, centroid and buffer. And one way to add those services is you can right click, like on the JS centroid, and then click add to workflow. It will add that process to the workflow. Another way, which we're going to use with the buffer, is to just drag and drop it to where you want it. Drag and drop it there to use it. Now, I want to connect the output of centroid to the input of the buffer. This I do by connecting this line from here to the buffer. Then ensure that it goes to the right input. So the output of centroid, outgoing parameter, go to the incoming parameter of the buffer. That is the geometry. Click apply. Now we need to add now the data. And the data that we want to add is in the WFS section. So that's the boundary. The boundary, you can view and see how it looks like, in which part of the world it is, by dragging and dropping it there, layered it to the map. And then you want to see which part of the world is this. Yeah, this is in West Africa, in Burkina Faso, in a region place called Dano. So that is where we draw our case study for this particular application. That is the boundary of the study area. I can now add this data to our workflow, and I want to add this with a centroid. Drag it and drop it there, and then click apply. So whenever you add data and that particular input is filled, then the color turned to green. But when it is not yet filled, then the color is black. So as you can see, the JS centroid, the color is filled. Here for the features is green, even for the buffer the features is green. But for the distance, if you go to buffer, the distance is black. So we need to fill that part. Go to the properties by clicking on the JS buffer and then selecting the property icon, and then select the property icon. Then it will show you the list of the inputs that are required. So the required parameters first is the feature and the distance. But for the feature, we connected the result from operation 0, which is the JS Android, to the input 0 of the current operation, which is the first input. Yeah. The second input is the distance. So the distance is also required. Now we need to specify the distance. Let's say 100, 1000. I mean, yes, we have 1000. So click save. It will save. Then, after now defining our workflow with services, processes, and the data, now we can give it a name. Let's call it a simple name, like a simple workflow. Simple workflow. And then click update. Now, the workflow now is complete. The specification, it's been designed, everything is now put. Let's go to the JSON representation of it. You see, this is the JSON representation of that workflow. Good. Now we can execute this workflow and see the result. Click on this button, execute. It's done. Very fast, 24 seconds. And then now we have our result. See, we have the centroid of the tunnel area, which is given by that one, and then we have the buffer around it. These results can also be downloaded. The results can be downloaded by clicking this icon. Download the result for process 1, that is the buffer, and for process 0 you can also download it to return for you a GeoJSON object. So that is all about composing workflow. From here you can now build into even bigger workflows and having several processing services and different data, a workflow that can execute for a long time. So I'll see you in the next session where I'll show you how we can visualize sensor data also with time series. Thank you.